Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the ByteTalk podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Ramon de Silva. I saw Ramon Page. I know Brazilian names are like they have 150 words in them.
Yes.
But it's great to have you, Ramon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm extremely happy to have Ramon here because he's been a guy that I've been following for a long time. We actually met around 10 years ago, or like 11 or 12 years ago, something like that. And we met in Rio, and he was already like a very unique individual. That's how I would put it. And dude, I'm extremely happy to reconnect with you and hear more about your story. I feel like I met you, like if I'm not mistaken, and I want to hear your side, but I think I met you in this like after hours event called it was called like Extra Hour, right?
Yeah.
So how was that event? Why did you participate on that? Let's start from there.
Oh, okay. So it's hard to explain because it was very organic, I would say, because I was, connecting to a lot of developers in Rio. And at some point I was in a bar and we were talking about many things related to technology, and then that thing growed to many other things. So we had weekly sessions after hours in the bar, and from that, we started doing events and talks and a lot of things. It was a very vibrant moment. So yeah, I only have good memories about that.
Yeah, it was interesting because like this was, imagine this, Johnny, like we were all like going to this bar and we would talk about tech. That was the whole thing about it. Like drink beer and talk about tech, and it was not like sponsored by a particular company. It was not something that started from something and like from a company and then it became something bigger. It was all community based, right, Ramon? Like,
Yeah.
do you remember like how that event even started? Do you remember that?
I think it was with a particular team from a particular company in Rio that they had issues with traffic. So they could not go home because there were a lot of traffic in Rio. And then they decided, let's go to a bar to discuss, to talk, or, to hang out for 1 or 2 hours. And then that thing was so nice, then they started inviting friends from other companies. And then other people started joining. And then, that's what I said. It was an explosion, and many people joined it. And I remember some of these sessions with 30 people, 40 people, I don't know. So it was very, very nice to see. But that's true.
That's
It
so
was
cool.
not sponsored for any company or any particular. It was just community based. And
What were like some of the topics you guys remember discussing those times?
a lot of things. Hot takes about small little things that that developers use it to discuss. If you're a JavaScript developer, if you like to use Scrum or not, if you like strong typed languages, if you don't like strong typed languages, what are the differences? We had the team Ruby, the team Python. People that like a different approaches, different methodologies, and that was the great thing about it because we had the opportunity to share different ways of working and learning from each other. So, but at some point we didn't have an agenda. It was just like you know um, what was the interesting thing happening that month or that week, and then we started discussing that. Very very organic, no big aspirations, right?
Yeah.
So
And
this
one
was,
thing. Oh,
oh, sorry, this was in Rio that you guys were both living,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, and where were you guys? Like, were you guys in? I'm curious, like you two, Zeno. Were you guys in university at that point? Were you guys working somewhere? Where were you working?
We had
ha-
many. So we had very experienced people, senior people. We had younger people. We had people from the university, all kinds of different levels, I would say. So we had branches, I would say. So we had dojo sessions with some of the people that like it to practice programming, and we also had the more senior people doing talks in other conferences and events. So it was not we didn't have one level or people of expertise participating. We enjoy welcomed everybody, and you know, and that was a nice thing. So, and at some point when this thing started to grow, we started to doing more. We started to become a little bit visible to the community. So we started doing other things like if the CEO of company X, oh, this CEO is in Rio. Let's invite this CEO to the bar. And then at that point was when I remember one situation that a friend of mine, Tapajós, he met GitHub CEO at the time, and they just invited, and they accepted. So it was amazing to see.
That's so
10 years
cool.
ago, now I work at GitHub, but at that point, 10 years ago, I was able to meet the GitHub CEO,
That's
and
so cool.
only work to GitHub 10 years later. He's not the CEO anymore, but it was for you to know how vibrant was that thing. It was amazing.
so that was Tom Preston Werner. Is that
Yes.
him? Oh yeah, yeah, and it's so crazy, right? Like how life is like now coming full circle. You
Yeah.
joined Microsoft a few years ago, and now you're working at GitHub. So can you talk about how that even happened? Like I'm extremely curious to hear why did you join Microsoft in the first place? What are the projects that you worked in? How you ended up on GitHub?
The funny thing is that the start of this journey started on the same after hours. At one situation, I was working with some friends, Sylvester, Rodrigo, and others, and we had this thing that we built small projects, small products for startups, just to test an idea, to test MVPs. And then one day we received an email about a person from Denmark that wanted to, you know, they were visiting Rio and they needed a company just to hang out, to use the internet and etc. Oh, that's okay, no problem. At first we thought it was some kind of spam or something like that, but in the end it was Rio. He was married to a Brazilian, and then he went to Rio and joined us in the bar, and that was amazing because the project at that time was a project that built test environments for iOS and Android applications, but with real devices, and that was very new at that time. So it was very impressive to see the work that they built in Denmark. And then,
Wow.
in the bar, I just, oh, this is cool, this is nice. And then discussing, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a Ruby on Rails programmer. I know CSS. I do front end work as well. And then they just invited me. Okay, could you do some small ad hoc work, some freelance work for us? Just small things. Oh, that's okay. Let's do it. And it was a nice experience. Just I didn't work on the project itself. I worked on the website and some internal systems. And then it was a very short project. And then we stopped it, and they returned it to Denmark, and that was okay. We continued talking, but didn't work together anymore. And then 1 year later, we were just chatting, and then this person asked me again, "Oh, I am joining Xamarin. Do you want to work with us?" And well, let's do it. That's great. So at that point, I joined Xamarin because Xamarin bought the company, and that was the start of what we call it Xamarin Test Cloud. So Xamarin
This
Test Cloud.
was, and this was like the first time that you were working remotely from a company in another country, correct?
Not exactly. I used to work for a company in the US prior. But at that point, it was freelance work as well. I had my personal company in Rio, so I used it to do a lot of freelance work. But this project was a little bigger, so I just decided to go full time with them and accept the challenge. And then when I joined it, it was the moment they got acquired by Xamarin, and the team was fully based in Denmark. So I'm from Rio, the only one in Rio, and all the other people in Denmark.
Wow.
It was a very nice experience, to manage all the challenges that we have with remote work, right? So we are having more people starting remote work because of the pandemic, but this is not a new thing. We talk a lot about the challenges, about how to increase productivity, the time zone issues, and etc. So at that point, I had to learn those things because I was the only one not in the same time zone. It was a very nice experience. I worked with them from 2013, I think, until 2016, something like that. And then,
And also,
yeah,
and
tell
just one
me.
question about this, because I feel like remote work is very different if you have everybody in the office and then
Yeah.
you have like one person in like remote, or you have
Yeah.
like everybody already remote in the same region, still like same time zone, and then one person remote. So how was the dynamics for you there?
Yeah. So maybe the biggest challenge was I had to be very aware of what exactly is happening, because sometimes people share things in the office and they don't that they don't share in the channels, in the Slack and etc. And I had to be okay. What exactly are we doing? What are the plans? And it was an additional challenge to not only to understand what exactly is happening, but also to communicate my side as well, to not feel like where is Ramon? I don't know. So there's the two sides of the thing. So, and on my side, I had to build some strategies to, I have to talk to this person today, so I have to have some kind of an agenda to bring what are the things that I have to talk, because I am the one that will wake up first. I will start working, and then they will actually I'm confused about the time zone right now. I was working after them. Yeah, I'm
After
sorry.
them.
So yeah, so I had to bring from the day before. I'm stopping my work. They are already having dinner and etc. So I have to bring my agenda at the end of my day to the other day to say, okay, yesterday I was thinking about this, and that. Let's talk a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more about it. And then, with the time, you kind of improve these strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just fine. We worked many years, and it was totally possible. For the people that think remote work doesn't work, it works. Don't be afraid of
Mm.
that. So, um,
What
and
was
then after
the?
that, okay, tell me, I'm sorry.
Oh, you mentioned having to be proactive about knowing what's going on. Because you're not in the physical office. You're not hearing like,
Yeah,
the little things, the little conversations, the little
yeah,
announcements, maybe.
yeah,
And I mean, this is 2013. You said so. I mean, even like Slack is not as
yeah.
common across the world. I don't know if you guys use that, but how did you? What were some strategies that you used back then to know what's going on, or even you mentioned kind of how you shared your perspective, but how did you gain other people's perspective?
Yeah, so the things that helped me, you know, those things were not particular to my day-to-day work. Those were the things that the team build with, you know, constant documentation and constant sharing what exactly are the 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 work that needs to be done. But personally, with myself alone, I am a very I love to-do lists and things like that. So I always have something that describes my day or my next day, and always writing down the things to not forget about it, and then I can have a clear vision. Okay, these are the things that are important. These are the things that I have to talk, that I have to
Mm.
share. Because in the end, I am an introvert, so I don't chat that much. So I like to, these are the specific things that
Mm.
I already have in my mind. Let's talk about it, and um,
Mm.
and it worked, I think.
Mm. It sounds like it wasn't. It was more quality than quantity, right? It wasn't like you needed to have lots of communication. It was more
Yeah.
that you needed to like have the time to not needed to have the time, but you took the time intentionally to
Yes.
process and to decide like, okay, this is something I think is important. I'm going to like
Yeah.
pursue this person or work on this thing or take a note. Um,
Yeah.
is that true?
Exactly. Exactly. But all
Mm.
the other things are important as well. The things that the team did, you know, we use it to have daily syncs and things like that. Things that all people that work with technology are familiar with, and if we have the sometimes I was in a daily sync and people would just, oh, let's not talk about this. That was not so important. And somebody remember, let's talk again because Ramon was not here. So,
Nice. That's cool.
yeah. So those smaller day-to-day um, tasks, let's say, were very, very important to keep the momentum. And we are
Yeah.
moving together, and also being part of a respectful team, because sometimes
Mm.
when you are the only one remote, it's very easy to be forgotten, right? Sometimes,
Mm.
oh, yeah. But having being able to work to a very good team, welcoming team, helps a lot with that
Mm.
as well.
Mm.
That's so cool. And then you were like at Xamarin, and like you guys like were building stuff, working remotely. So how many years did you stay there?
I think it was until 2016, the very moment I moved to Microsoft, because Xamarin was acquired by Microsoft. That was my
Oh.
other jump, I would say. So this
Mm.
Xamarin was a US based company, and only a small organization, my branch was in Denmark, the Xamarin Test Cloud. But we had other products as well, Xamarin Studio, and other tools for developers to build cross-platform applications for iOS and Android at that time. And when that happened, um, um, Nat was the CEO of Xamarin at that point, and we joined in Microsoft, the whole company, and I was still in the same team. My whole team moved. We didn't split at all, and the work was pretty much the same. We just rebuild the product with a new name and introduce it inside the Azure umbrella.
Oh, okay.
And I worked for a couple of years on this project. That
What is the name of that product now? I'm curious.
App Center, Visual Studio App Center. So it was actually it is a tool to build, integrate, test applications in the cloud. And my work was related to the test part, using
Okay.
real actual devices. So you upload your application file, and then we install in real devices and test the application. But the yeah, it's quite nice. But the application itself, the product itself, we had we have. I'm not on that team, but the product still exists. They build, they integrate. You can publish to Apple Store, to the Google Play Store, and etc. There are many other tools to improve the productivity for the teams that build iOS and Android application, also Windows applications, I think. So I worked a lot on for a couple of years on this project, on the front end side, the back end side. I never really did a separation in my career about what is the front end work or the back end work. I was kind of working on the two fronts, and then I moved it to GitHub, which was the moment when my team moved it to GitHub, and now I am probably 1 year now, I think, yeah, working at GitHub.
Yeah, I'm super curious because you've been through many merges, right? Many acquisitions of
Yeah,
companies, and I know that for some people that's a very stressful moment because you have now
yeah,
new leadership, a new company culture. You know, like maybe
yeah,
when you signed up to work at that Denmark company, you embraced those values, that leadership team, and then you transition to Xamarin, and then now it's a new leadership, new values, and then Microsoft comes along, and now you're like
yeah.
even bigger company. So how do you deal with those emotions, man? Like was a particular moment harder than the other, or you just go with the flow? How was it?
Yes, it is hard because one of the biggest challenges is to be aware of what exactly is coming. What is this culture that we don't know yet, that we will have to embrace and adapt. But the good thing was at Xamarin we had a very great culture, and we were lucky enough to bring some aspects of this culture to Microsoft, because I think the 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 positive aspect of it is that the whole team moved. So we were able to, we already have this thing that is good. Let's try to keep this.
That's
And then
awesome.
at Microsoft, maybe many people don't know, but Microsoft is a very nice company, and um, it's a very big company as well. We have many different teams working on many different, things as well. And there are little silos of culture inside Microsoft. So I don't even know how is the culture of other teams, because I don't have a clear connection with them. So for me, it was, for us, I would say the thing that helped us was because the whole team moved. But it's definitely a challenge. And from Microsoft to GitHub, it was similar because GitHub has a different culture for sure. But at the same point, again, the very fact that we were able to keep, the team, we were able to move the good parts with us. Um, um, and although the cultures are different, they are two very good cultures. So we were able to adapt and have the good things that we are already there and bring new things that were nice as well. I definitely think that for people that have to make this decision, it is a very hard decision if you are alone in this process. If you are a smaller team, there are many things that comes to play, and it can be hard because it affects your life as well, right?
Yeah, and I think like if we had this conversation maybe 10 years ago, we would say, "Oh, I would never work for Microsoft," because like Microsoft had
Yeah,
that brand of not like being really open to open source, which is something that we
yeah,
we both love, and they were like looking at proprietary software as the only way to do software. So
yeah,
that was a big part of their culture, and they made so many changes in the last couple of years where they started Visual Studio Code, which is now the most used open source code editor in the whole
yeah,
world. Like they have more than 10 million active users. They bought NPM, which is the most used JavaScript package manager, the biggest package manager, I would say, from all languages.
yeah.
And they bought GitHub, which is the biggest open source software community. And they made all these changes, and now it's a completely different company. I feel like the perception that we used to have about Microsoft is very different from the reality, right? Like, how is inside Microsoft for you? Like, how, were you able to see those different aspects of the culture there?
Yes, yes. In fact, I think when I joined it, it was the start of the process of doing these changes, embracing open source and etc. And also that helped me making the decision. Okay, it should be nice to work to today's Microsoft, I would say, and that was part of my thinking when I decided to accept the move. And even though all these things are happening, we still have, the GitHub is a separate company and has the same, the exact same structure as it was before. So of course we have, you know KRs, and we have, things to do that should, from the leadership plan. But at the same time, GitHub has this flexibility to still bring nice things to developers. Um, um, and I think we are doing that in the past couple of years, adding a lot of great tools, actions, also now packages in GitHub. Very soon, code spaces. It's so it's nice to see those improvements.
What are you working on? Any like specific features or areas of GitHub, or like what does your role look like?
Right now, I work with billing. I work with the billing team. So we build the architecture to support the other teams to build customers. So we are the team that that brings all the necessary features to support new products. If we have a new product,
Yeah.
we work with the foundation to be able to build customers. Yeah.
It's a super
Does that?
important part, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's how it
I was
goes.
gonna
Yes.
ask. I was gonna ask if you can give us some coupon, like a special coupon that you use when you're testing things.
I can think about it. I actually don't have I actually don't have a say about it, but I can figure it out. Yeah, for sure.
Special coupon code from Ramon in the description for everyone. But I'm curious too. So working in GitHub, like, does it feel like you're working at Microsoft? Like, when I think of Microsoft, it's like one of the giant, big tech, right?
Yeah.
Or does it feel like you're working at GitHub or something totally different? Like, I would imagine that, like you were describing, it's its own company within the umbrella of Microsoft, and so it has a lot of autonomy and flexibility and even its own leadership and that kind of thing. But then it kind of still trickles up, right? There's like leadership and goals that come down from Microsoft. But on the day to day, do you kind of just feel like you're only inside of the GitHub bubble, or do you very much feel attached to Microsoft as a whole?
I feel pretty much at this GitHub bubble. I don't feel at all that I work for Microsoft. Even though from time to time we have features that we share with colleagues from Microsoft teams, but I feel pretty much on the GitHub side of things. I don't feel at all working for Microsoft. That's because as I mentioned it, we have this autonomy, and on a day-to-day basis we are just building those things, and I actually don't remember at all. Yeah.
I'm also curious too, like, whenever a company provides a product that is so like core to its own company operations, I'm always curious, like, how is like SDLC and code management inside of GitHub? Like, is it something that you're like, yeah, we're just like any other company, and I don't know, everyone struggles, right? Or has like their own way of doing things or whatever? Or is it a huge focus and like tons of pressure to do like best practices or whatever because you're GitHub and because you kind of have to be that way because you're providing one of the main tools that every company or most companies use, right? How does that feel?
Yes, because GitHub has many smart people, and we also have many processes to make things work. So sometimes we have the same processes the other companies do, but we have a little change to make this work on the GitHub way, I would say. So we do continuous integration. We do all the things that other companies do. We do constant deployments every day, but we do have processes that are a little bit different, a little bit custom. We use the same tools as well. We use Kafka a lot. We use MySQL. GitHub is a Ruby shop, as many people know, but we do have many other tools, internal tools that are in other languages. We have Pivot Path for Go language with Python as well. We have many other things happening. So we do have multiple things happening, but we do have a very strict process to make this work successfully. And that is similar to the Microsoft way, I would say. But um, the way we do the day-to-day work is different. The Microsoft has different processes to achieve the same goals. For instance, we are on the GitHub side, we are improving increasing the platform team. We are hiring more people to build better and a better UI with more accessibility. That is a very big work that we are working on the GitHub side. Microsoft has a lot of processes to build accessible websites as well. So we have similar processes, but at the same time, we do in different ways, I would say. And
Sure.
yeah.
And what is your favorite thing about GitHub? Is it like a particular thing about the product that makes you really excited about, or is there something unique in the company culture? Like, what do you love the most about it?
It's a very vibrant company. Even though as I mentioned, I work on the business side of things, but we have this I would say, common goal. We always talk about the company as a whole, and we have some special projects from time to time, and people have people are open to discuss other areas of GitHub, even though we are on different teams. So this ability to we feel like we are part of something big, right? Something bigger. Even though you have a team, you work on this thing, but the overall thing is kind of like we know what's going on. We have the culture embraces. We have internal talks. We have many things to get everybody together and share the same vision, the same, the common goal. That because we are developers doing things for developers, so we have it's internally it's vibrant as well.
Is developer experience a pretty high priority inside of GitHub? Like, is there a lot of discussion and thought? I would imagine so, but I'm curious how you see it.
Yes, of course. So we do have a lot of projects that are connected to enterprises. Of course, we we build things for enterprises as well. But the main goal of GitHub should be developer-centered, and many of the things that we plan are develop centered for developers for sure.
And do you see this culture of like being independent, being developer driven? Do you see that being like the strategy for the long term, where GitHub will keep? I obviously know that you have like a limited vision of like maybe what the executives at Microsoft are gonna do, obviously, right? But from what you can perceive internally, do you think that's the long term goal? Let's keep it as a separate thing. Let's have our own culture. Even though we are going to connect with Azure from time to time, we're going to use maybe the same HR policies from Microsoft, but we're doing our own thing here. Do you see that's being the case, or maybe this is only for the short term, and in the long term, this is going to be Microsoft code bases or Microsoft community? I don't know.
I think this is the biggest fear of everybody that GitHub is now owned by Microsoft. Microsoft will change everything. I don't have a say on this, of course, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. You can be, yeah. That is, I don't see a possibility for that. I feel that for the goals that we have, we are pretty much on the same pace that we are today. Building the same exciting tools and features for developers and improving every day what we have.
Nice. Yeah. One thing that I always loved about you is that you were always like passionate about Ruby on Rails. So you knew the
Yeah.
back end side of things. You're always passionate about the front end too. You were always like doing some really cool UX work, and I loved like that side of you. But one thing that I also know that you love a lot is to rap, and that's
Yeah.
something that is a part of your identity and something that you
Yeah.
do on the side. So how is that today? Do you still do it? And like how that affected your career too?
That is something that, since it started as a hobby and something that I like to do, I never really left, this thing in my life. But today I'm a little bit slower. I'm more writing, more writing than rapping. And
Mm.
I I I don't release anything in a couple of years, I think. But I'm
Mm.
still, yeah, writing a lot, and hopefully sometime I will release something again.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool.
That's super cool. Make sure to let us know when your next album drops.
Yes,
We'll
yes, for sure.
mention it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Uh, we would love to know. Uh, Both Zeno and I like love talking about productivity and like just the fine tuning of like using this tool in this way, or like this desk setup, or this anything that it makes us more effective and productive. So what is something right now like on your desk that you see in front of you? It could be like software, something on your computer, or something on your desk, something physical. But what's something that's making you more productive these days?
I'm a little bit old school, so I always have a little. This is the thing that I use, pen and paper every day.
Mm-hmm.
I use tools as well. So many times people ask me, "Oh, what is the best tool to, do to get things done, to do lists and etc." I say, there are many great tools out there. So uh, you
Mm.
have to learn what is the one that is going to touch your heart. I would say the one that, oh, I like
Mm.
this process, how they do this flow. It works best with my
Mm-hmm.
day-to-day work. So from my point of view, I always have paper because it's the fastest thing I have every day to do little bullet lists, some
Mm.
notes about the things I have to do. But
Mm.
after that, I always move to some software. I use Things a lot. Things is this
Mm-hmm.
app from Culture Code from many, many, many
Uh huh.
years, and it's a great tool, and I use since forever, and it's amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
use to-do lists in email as well. I use to-do lists in Microsoft OneNote. I do to-do lists and uh, the Apple app, the Notes app. So I do to-do list everywhere. So I think the thing that helps me the most is doing to-do lists. But of course, we have to learn to build um, um, some strategies to, not everything you
Mm.
will write down it's going to be useful for your day. So you have to be vigilant, and you have to build this concept of constantly pushing yourself to write down what is exactly important for the particular thing. Because the idea behind
Mm.
doing to dos, or the process of getting things done is to be able to forget, because you have other things to think.
Yeah.
You have very sometimes complex things that you have to work on, you have to decide. But the simplest, the smaller things, it's always best to have separate from your brain, because you are able to forget. And I also
Mm.
like to do sleep box. I don't do that much, but I have this from time to time. Some people like to do daily notes and things like that. I don't do daily notes that much, only a little bit, but I like to write down things that happens or things that I learn that this is probably going to be important to a project or something. Let me write down. And I build this database. I would say, this sleepy box. Some people it's called the I don't talk German, but it's the Zito Kasten. I think that's the way you say this. I don't know. It's the this approach that you do is small and smart notes that later you categorize. You add some ID, I would say, to the note, and then in the past it was a actual sleepy box, some you know little cabinets, and you put the cards in there. But right now you have tools, we have computers, and you can build your own. It's not like Wikipedia, but you could do. It's similar to your personal Wikipedia. Some people don't like to say it that way, but because it's not exactly that. It's just a way of building notes and categorizing in a way that you can remember later, and connect the dots about the what exactly you are thinking about at that point. So if I could give one advice would be that always write down the things, always make sure you. I don't know. I think many people do to-do lists. I don't know about you, but I think it's very helpful for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
For sure. Yeah, Ramon, this was great, man. I love hearing those tips. I love now hearing what you're doing.
yeah.
And I wanted to thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. We're gonna be waiting on that special coupon, so
Okay.
make sure you find a way to hack the system.
Yeah.
Go to the database. I don't care.
Okay.
We're gonna be waiting on that. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it, man.
Just give me your handles, and I can try something.
Good DMS.
Thank you very
Thanks
much
a
for
lot,
inviting
man.
me.
Awesome.
This was amazing. It was a pleasure and very nice to talk to you. It was great.
Yeah, great to have you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the ByteTalk podcast. You can subscribe to be notified of our weekly episodes. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and share with your friends. See you next week.